Hey there, and welcome to this explainer. Grab a virtual front row seat because today we're going on a super fascinating hand-drawn whiteboard journey straight into the microscopic world. I'm literally so excited to guide you through this lesson. We'll be looking at the journey of the cell, specifically how cells divide through the processes of mitosis and meiosis. So let's just dive right in and see how life literally multiplies.
Right off the bat, I want you to think about this for a second. Have you ever wondered how one single cell, which, by the way, is exactly how you started out, somehow becomes the millions and billions of cells making up your entire body right now? I mean, how does a scraped knee actually heal? How do humans reproduce? Well, it all comes down to cell division. And to really grasp it, we've got to look at the master instructions hidden inside every single cell.
Here is our roadmap for today's explainer. First, the blueprint, 2n equals 6, then mitosis, making exact clones. After that, meiosis 1, mixing it up, followed by meiosis 2, the final split. Then we'll do a showdown of mitosis versus meiosis, and finally, a quick recap and quiz.
Chapter 1. The Blueprint. 2n equals 6.
Okay, so before we can start dividing anything, we need to understand the rules of the game, right? We need to know exactly what is inside the nucleus of our starting cell. Let's establish two absolutely crucial terms, diploid and haploid. A diploid cell, which we represent with the symbol 2n, is a cell containing two complete sets of chromosomes. Think of it as one set from the biological mother and one from the biological father. It is basically the full instruction manual. On the flip side, a haploid cell, represented by just a single N, contains only one complete set of chromosomes. It's exactly half the instructions, and it's specifically reserved for reproduction.
So, the magic number for our entire journey today is this, 2n equals 6. Picture us drawing this out on a whiteboard together. We are going to draw 6 X-shaped chromosomes inside our starting cell. Because it's a diploid cell, these exist as 3 homologous pairs. Imagine them in 3 distinct bright colors. Let's say a pair of big red chromosomes, a pair of medium blue ones, and a pair of tiny green ones. 6 chromosomes total. That right there is our starting point.
Chapter 2. Mitosis. Making exact clones. All right, with our 2n equals 6 blueprint ready to go, let's jump into our first process. You can think of mitosis as your body's straightforward cloning machine. It is what you use for growth, repair, and replacing worn-out cells. Our drawing starts with interphase. This is when the cell is basically just living its everyday life, but crucially, it copies its DNA in the background. By the time we hit prophase, the cell is officially packing its bags and preparing to divide. You'll see our 6 colorful X-shaped chromosomes, those red, blue, and green pairs, becoming tightly packed and highly visible inside the nucleus. And our chromosome count? Still exactly 6.
Moving right into metaphase, those 6 X-shaped chromosomes line up perfectly, single file, right down the middle, or the equator of the cell. Then, in anaphase, bam, the action happens. Imagine tiny little arrows pulling the 2 halves of those X's apart, dragging them to completely opposite sides of the cell. The chromosome count is actually still 6 here. We are just physically splitting those identical copies we made back in interphase.
Finally, we reach telophase and cytokinesis. On the board, we draw 2 brand new nuclei forming around those separated chromosomes on either side. And then comes the final pinch. The cell physically pinches right down the middle, splitting the cytoplasm to create 2 totally separate, complete cells. Let's look at the final result here. We started with one parent cell where 2n equals 6. And we end with 2 identical clones, both also diploid, where 2n still equals 6. They are exact genetic copies of the original cell and of each other. This is exactly how your body heals that scraped knee perfectly.
Chapter 3. Meiosis 1. Mixing it up.
Okay, let's wipe that whiteboard completely clean and transition to something a bit more complex. Welcome to meiosis. This is a special 2-part cellular division strictly used for making gametes, and gametes are just your reproductive cells, like sperm and eggs. Part 1 is all about mixing things up. Let's see how nature actually creates diversity. During meiosis, we see something super cool called crossing over. Imagine our red pair of chromosomes literally hugging each other and swapping an arm. They are actively trading genetic information. We also have independent assortment, which basically means when these pairs line up, the red, blue, and green pairs do so completely randomly. These 2 processes combined are the incredible engine that creates unique genetic variation. It is literally the reason you don't look exactly like your siblings.
So, tracking our 6 chromosomes. In prophase 1, those homologous pairs find their buddies, red with red, blue with blue, green with green, and they do that awesome crossing over arm swap. Then, in metaphase 1, instead of lining up single file like they did in mitosis, they line up right down the middle in their pairs. And yep, the total chromosome count inside the cell is still 6.
Next up comes anaphase 1 and telophase 1. Here, whole X-shaped chromosomes are pulled apart. The red buddies separate, the blue buddies separate, the green buddies separate. Then the cell pinches in two. But look really closely at the drawing now. Because whole X's were separated, our 2 new cells now only have 3 chromosomes each. They have officially become haploid. N equals 3.
Chapter 4. Meiosis II, the final split.
But wait, the journey isn't over. We move straight into the second division. And the absolutely crucial point to remember here is that there is no DNA copying happening before this step starts. We are working with exactly what we just created. So let's zoom in on our 2 new haploid cells. In prophase 2, they get ready to divide again. In metaphase 2, those 3 remaining colorful chromosomes in each cell line up single file right down the middle. If this gives you a sense of déjà vu, it's because it looks very similar to mitosis, just with half the chromosomes.
Now for the final drawing. In anaphase 2, the X shapes finally split into individual sister chromatids, getting yanked to opposite sides by our arrows. In telophase 2, new nuclei form and both cells pinch in half. Since 2 cells are each splitting in half, we are left with 4 distinct cells.
Let's contrast those end results. Remember mitosis? We ended with 2 exact diploid clones. But look at our meiosis result. We ended the journey with 4 genetically unique haploid cells. Each cell has exactly 3 single chromosomes. Because of that crossing over earlier, absolutely none of these 4 cells are exactly alike.
Chapter 5. The Showdown. Mitosis versus Meiosis.
All right, we've drawn a lot of circles, X's, and arrows today. Let's bring it all together for the ultimate capstone showdown. Let's lock in what we've learned and review the core differences. Mitosis has just 1 division. Meiosis has 2. Mitosis produces 2 daughter cells. Meiosis produces 4. In mitosis, we started with a chromosome count of 2n equals 6 and ended right back at 2n equals 6. In meiosis, we started with 2n equals 6, but ended up cutting that right in half to n equals 3. Mitosis creates identical cells. They're clones. Meiosis creates completely unique cells. And finally, the purpose. Mitosis is the engine for growth and repair, while meiosis is exclusively for creating gametes for reproduction.
Chapter 6. Summary, Recap, and Quiz.
What a journey, right? You have officially mastered the microscopic division of the cell. Now it's time for a quick, energetic recap and a pop quiz to test those biology brains. I want you to actively answer these, either out loud or in your head. You ready? Number 1. What is the main purpose of mitosis versus meiosis? Well, if you said growth and repair for mitosis and making gametes for meiosis, you totally nailed it. Okay, number 2. If a cell starts with 2n equals 6, how many chromosomes are in the cells at the very end of meiosis? Remember, it's exactly half, so the answer is 3. And finally, number 3. In which specific phase does crossing over occur? Remember that awesome arm swapping? That happens in prophase 1 of meiosis. Fantastic job.
I really want to leave you with this final, truly mind-blowing thought. As you sit here watching this explainer, this flawless, perfectly choreographed microscopic dance of chromosomes lining up and pulling apart is happening inside your body literally millions of times right now. It is exactly what keeps you alive, growing, and entirely unique. Keep staying curious about this microscopic world, you guys, because it really is what makes the big world possible.